Hello, hello. It's me, Sarah, in my little office space. And I wanted to pop in here to share a little bit of the magic that I'm tending recently, which is going to the root of things, going to the foundation, going to the beliefs that are holding up the whole house. And I've been doing this for some time now, for sure, like probably around the last year, like navigating the depth of why I do things, what beliefs are in place that have created that response mechanism in myself, the foundations of me and my emotional and my mental health. What is that resting on? The foundations of my physical reality, like money and home and security and whatever that means to me. I've just been going in and digging around there and seeing if there's any pieces of it that are actually detrimental to being able to hold this strong, fortified, sustainable house that is my life, that is my future, that is for the future generations to come. And so one of the practices that I've integrated probably in the last moon cycle, is exploring using a elemental altar. So for any of you witchy folk out there, you've maybe put together an elemental altar, maybe for ceremony, or you've been to gatherings where there's been an altar that has the different elements. So when I talk about elemental altar, just to break it down super straight, I mean earth, air, fire, water, and maybe you want to put spirit in there, or ether, which is the quality. The ether is like the space that all elements and everything is required. We require space to exist. So having something that represents that space. I know for me, I've been using time to represent space. And I think time in itself is also its own quality. And so what I decided was, as I'm exploring the foundations of my life, why not get to the foundations of the earth, the foundations of the elements, and bring them into my main center altar. So for any of you that follow my work, you may know I'm a bit obsessed with altars, and I call them alchemical altars, and I use them to understand what's happening in the spiritual plane in a physical expression. So I like to tend my altars. I like to see what happens to them. And with the water, so right here, just to show you, I've got this actually has little eggs in it. So this is for air. I've got a owl claw as well. I've got fire, obviously water, and then the earth I keep kind of putting new foliage in. And the water I keep changing up. So when you have water on your altar, or when I have water on my altar, just to focus on me, I really like to make sure that I'm consciously adding it and also noticing when it needs to be refreshed. And what kind of water you're adding really changes the spell. So when we had snow recently, I added a bunch of snow. When we have rain, sometimes I'm like, quickly put out the shell, like collect the rain. And I like to think, maybe it's your tap water. Where are you getting your water from? So I also like to think that even the different spots in your house that you collect water from affect the quality of that water. So when I'm doing sessions with people and I'm collecting, so there'll be a moment in the sessions when I'm doing a deep soul journey where I fill a shell or a glass bowl with water. And that one I always get from either my kitchen sink, because it represents this place of like the food and the hearth and the home. And then the water that I fill that goes under my altar, which goes like under here, I don't know if you can see. This is where I call it the underworld. So I actually have a bear skull. Oh, that was my black carbonate from the underworld. I have a bear skull hanging out under there. So when I'm doing sessions, I put a bowl of salt water in the underworld, and that salt water bowl actually, is where it kind of pulls the yucky or the energy that needs to be grounded and composted. So the water that I use for my saltwater clearing, that's specifically for that purpose, I get from my bathroom. And so the bathroom, you hear my baby crying. The bathroom water I find is like the bathroom is a place of releasing. It's a place of like purging, flush the toilet, let the water flow down from the shower. Like it's got that energy of like discharge and release. And so I like to use that water, my bathroom water, for that quality. So just to give you some ideas, I love collecting rainwater, especially if it kind of holds this the quality of the heavens. It holds the quality of being able to receive abundance. So if you're doing like your abundance altar and you're wanting to call in more abundance, try to like collect the rainwater, because it represents like what are qualities that are just pouring down on us, that are just giving us this life force. And so you can put that water onto your altar. You can also, of course, get the sea if you want to work with the subconscious realms. Maybe you want to work with deeper dreams. I might get like sea water or ocean water if that's possible for you. I have a pond out back that's creek fed. And so for me, that water, like if I, right now I've been exploring money and water. And so if that water was collected, it would represent the water that is still has like this inflow to keep it fresh, but that you're able to kind of slow down and be with your practice or be with what's happening. Like there's a reservoir there. So that's a few little tidbits. And yeah, choosing like when you light your candle. So when I invoke the flame into my altar, I really like to set the intention first of like, okay, this flame is here to illuminate this quality, or this flame is holding space for XYZ. And then when I feel complete with that, I'll tap it out. This is a technique that I just learned recently, like probably last year, and I can't believe I didn't know about it. And it just feels so respectful to the fire. And so instead of blowing it out, which has its purpose too, I actually I'll use like a sage stick, or you can use any little stem or a crystal, but it will get waxy. And you kind of just tap down the flame. So you thank the flame, you thank the fire for being present with you, and you just kind of tap it into the wax. And so then the wax covers it and kind of engulfs it. And it's just a really beautiful way of saying goodbye to the fire. And then it also preserves your candle life, because then the candle wick is then kind of sucks up the wax, so it's better, it doesn't burn. So that's just a technical thing that happens. So I feel like that's probably enough to share, but the reason why I was sharing this, my alchemical altar earth work, my elemental altar, is to explore if you are in a place in your life and you're feeling like you need to get basic for a moment, that maybe you've been finding yourself like going around and around in a rut, or feeling like you're chasing some answer that you're not right sure of. Okay, go back to the foundations, like build an altar. For me, this is what I needed to simplify, but maybe it's something else for you that's just really, really simple. I mean, once at my time, an altar I made was so simple. It was just a bowl of water with like a flower petal in it, or a flower floating in it, and on a white cloth. Maybe that's something that you need, just to simplify and let that simplicity kind of be the foundation that you start to build upon, and that you start to infuse your inquiry and your dream space and how you're living your life from that simplicity. And then you could start adding, pictures and more dynamic intentions. Like I said, you can also add those dynamic intentions with what plants you put in. Like maybe you want to put herbs in the earth element, and each herb you add is giving a little quality of dynamic nature. So with that, thanks for watching, and happy altar making. Ciao.